Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Rule and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you the process that I went through to make this gigantic wall hanging. Let me show you what it looks like. It is about 100 inches long. I can't show you it all at one time. And about 50 inches wide. I collected pieces of Shibori for a long time to make this wall hanging, and then I quilted them together and backed it with this burlap. I did some hand stitching, hand quilting, as well as machine quilting, just to stabilize it. And I'm about to ship it off to my friend who commissioned it from me. So the whole process took me about a year, to be totally honest with you. I didn't work on it nonstop, but I would pick it up and put it down throughout the year. And I think I also wanted to take time to think about the composition of it, because I did change it quite a lot through that process. And also when I was putting it on the backing, the burlap backing, it was definitely a two-person job. So I had to have help from my mom who helped me a lot with it, and she's a quilter too. So we had a lot of fun making this wall hanging, and I'm excited to share the process with you. So thanks for tuning in.
So the first step was to figure out the layout. I had a ton of fabric to choose from, and a lot of it I had dyed in my workshops demoing, and I have a lot of fabric in my fabric stash. So I had too many choices, but I eventually came up with something I liked. And like I said before, this whole process took me about a year. So this video is a compilation of all the different videos I took while making the wall hanging.
In the studio on my quilt again today. I just wanted to show you guys a little bit of an update of the pieces I put together. So it's a very large scale wall hanging. So you can see these pieces are big. So this is just one strip here. I think it's like, I forget exactly how big it is, but it's over 100 inches. So it's really big. It's gonna go above her couch, which is gonna be so pretty. So that's one layer, and then I did this is the layer that's gonna go on top. So I added some pieces that are not Shibori, just to break it up, but then these ones here are all my Shibori. So this is a Tijame hexagon pattern that just is so pretty.
So I decided to use those pieces from the other clip for the bottom of the wall hanging, and this is what I ended up using for the top. So this is the third strip, the third layer that is going to be the top of the wall hanging. And I have a couple different patterns of Kumo Shibori. There's a nautical stripe, sort of like an abstract piece, and a concentric circle on the corner. So I have come up with the layout, and now I'm going to lay it out one last time to make sure I like it before I sew up the top.
Here is the layout of the wall hanging that I've been working on. I'm going to sew it together now. This seam here is uneven, so I'm going to take it out and redo it. And then I'm going to see if I need to redo this one too. I feel like I might. So that's what I have to do first before I sew it together. But I think it's looking really cool.
No project is complete without a little seam ripping, but I eventually got it all straightened out and all together.
So then I was looking through my stash and I got an idea, because I have some leftover burlap, not nearly enough for this whole wall hanging, but I like the idea of this sort of frayed edge, and I could just put it behind the wall hanging, and then stitch it to it. I just would need like a lot of burlap, but I could get that. And I think that could be a nice look. So maybe I need to go shopping for some burlap. So I found some burlap, and it's 10 ounces and 40 inches. So I'm gonna get, I think, 6 yards to cover the entire thing. And yeah, I'm excited that I have decided on this because I've been thinking about it for a long time and not totally sure what to do, but this feels like the right decision. Okay, so I put the top of the quilt onto the burlap backing. There's 3 layers here. I kind of trimmed them so they're all the same, and I'm going to stitch them together to be 120 inches wide. And this is the length of the wall hanging. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it, making sure there's enough room for a pocket at the top. And the next step is sewing it together.
Okay, so I just took it out of the wash and I pressed it, and it has a much more relaxed feeling to it. I love this. So I'm just trimming these long strings out of the fringe. Here's a little pile I have. I want it to be frayed and kind of natural looking, but I don't want it to be over the top messy. So I love it.
So I just trimmed down all the edges of this gigantic blue quilt square. And we're going to pin it down to the burlap now. It's way harder to work with than it looks because it's very shifty. So the next thing we're going to do is pin it parallel to the bottom here and work our way up. So wish us luck. I'm just stitching in the ditch to get this quilting established here. I'm going to do a lot of hand quilting, I think, but I want to get it started by doing some basic securing. So I'm using the walking foot, and I'm just going really slow.
So I really wanted to do shishiko stitching on this piece, but it's so large that I had to be very selective what I was doing. So I did kind of like a running stitch with a traditional shishiko thread, and I'll put the link to the kind of thread I'm using in the description. I used a double thread of it and just did some stitches on the lines and seams to accentuate the patchworkness of this piece.
All right, so I am stitching my giant Shibori wall hanging slowly but surely with this hand quilting. It's mostly decorative. I quilted it already with the machine, but it's gonna be really cool once it's done. Here we go. There's a little bit over here. So I hope to finish it this weekend.
So I spent a few hours doing the hand stitching, and I think it was really worth it. It really makes the pieces pop and gives the wall hanging that hand sewn look, and I just really like the way it turned out. I tried to do it strategically so that I could get as much credit for it as possible. I didn't want it to blend in, but I think it turned out really nice, and here's another shot of it. So I finally got it onto the backing and quilted and all done and photographed, and I'm just so happy with the way it turned out. So be sure to hit the subscribe button if you guys like this video, and you check out my other tutorials and DIYs on my channel. See you next time.